Today we are going to talk about how to take better photos on your smartphones, which is kind of exciting of a topic. So if everyone has, do you all have a smartphone for one, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know. I've been having a lot of problem. I have a smartphone. With this smartphone is good, but last night, I'm glad that you're talking about the smartphone, not only for photos, but we were trying to download my Packer tickets for the Packer game, and we had to go through what do you call that? Oh, Ticketmaster, and it is not very friendly. So I hope the next time you talk about with the easier way of, downloading, I'm glad and I was told I should get an iPhone because they say they're better for people with disabilities. So I don't know what you might be able to help us out with that. Which is a good phone, and which is not a good phone.
I mean, I don't know that I can necessarily tell you that, but I do know that iPhones are really accessible, at least because
Yeah.
Katie, our coworker who worked here before,
Mhm.
who's fully blind, used iPhone, and she said the accessibility function on it was really good, like the voice to text
Oh,
and
sorry.
kind of like reading and everything, screen reading on the iPhone. But
Oh, okay.
other than
Oh,
that, I'm not sure. I'm not a
okay.
cell phone expert, but today we are going to talk about
How to take the.
smartphone. Yeah.
Okay, good. And I don't need. I take pictures. I take pictures, but I don't. I don't know how to really. I don't know how to transfer them, like to an email or something. So that's good.
Cool.
All right. Thank you.
So, Sydney,
Here's my phone.
if I'm not already, can you make me a host so I can share?
Yeah.
Screen share?
Yeah, you should be able to now.
Okay. Let's see. Screen share.
I'm gonna go to my picture thing here. Oh, okay.
Let's play. You guys all see this?
Yes. How to improve your snap, or how to improve your smartphone photos.
Smartphone photos. Yep.
Mhm.
So, slide one. Or maybe I go down. Let's see. Where do I go next? Oh, here next. Okay. So first, to start out, we're gonna talk about a bunch of principles and stuff later on, like tips that you can improve your smartphone photos. But to start, I thought it'd be fun to do like a little criticizing of some of the photos that I found on my iPhone. All these photos that we're gonna see, they were all taken on an iPhone. My
Sydney, there's some noise. We can't really hear. You want to see there's some noise or something in the background.
Yeah, there is an echo.
Yeah.
Well, Ramsey's not on anymore, and the only one not muted is
Cindy.
yeah. I don't
Now I
know.
don't hear it. I think whoever had it, maybe muted themselves and that fixed the issue. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so
Whoops, sorry.
so I dug through my camera roll and I have some decent photos and a lot of not so great photos. And like before we talk about principles and tips and techniques that can improve your photos and photo composition and all that, I thought we'd play a few little games, and the slides are like quiz. So I have 3 photos here. What can you guys tell me about these photos? Like, what one do you think is the best and why? Like, what makes it the best?
I was gonna wait for other people to respond, but I think number one.
Yeah, I would say number one. I wouldn't say number two. Two's all right, but I don't think so. I mean, you see the mountain so upwards, and then you see a building and some cars on the bottom, I guess.
Number one.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I agree with you when I was making this slide. I think number one, solely because of composition, I think that was something I was looking at here. You know, you got, I guess, pretty sky in all these, but some random cars. And this one's not the most compositionally balanced, I guess. So it's kind of what I was going for. Okay, next slide. Same thing. Which photo?
Mm.
I think this one's maybe more obvious.
I would say the middle one, two.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Looks like Chaz said one is beautiful, but I think he was talking about the previous slide.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are good at this. That's what I was going for this too. I mean, it might be hard to tell, but 3, and this is something we're going to talk about later too, was zoomed in, and it looks kind of grainy and unbalanced. So that's maybe not the best. I think the perspective is the most interesting in photo 2. Photo 1, I don't even know where that's from. I just found that. I'm like, ooh, that's a bad photo. Okay, next, last one. So this time, instead of telling me what photo you think is best, I want you guys to tell me if there's anything like, how could these photos be improved? Is it Marie? No, Maria. I think it's
Mira.
you that has so. Maybe. I don't know. Okay, so thoughts. How could these photos all be better?
The first one needs more lighting.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really see the people.
Yeah.
And the second one is sort of need to be clearer. You can kind of see it, but you know, some things you can't. You know, and the trees over the little, is it a park you were at?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a little village town, I guess.
Yeah, and then there's a tree hanging down from the
Yeah.
picture.
So that would be my comment on that photo too, what you just said, Cindy. Like, I think one easy way, like, it's not that great of a photo to begin with. It's more like a memory, but one thing that you could easily do to make this better is crop the photo, you know, right?
Yeah.
So like, you'd take this part of the tree out and it would look a lot better. And Sydney, I agree with you. This photo, number 1, I mean, obviously the lighting's not the best, but it's something we can talk about too. You could actually fix it with editing, like a little bit of editing to make, you know, so you can see the people, and maybe a little cropping and straightening with this one too. And then number 3, what do you guys think about that one?
It's a little hazy and I think it's a little hazy and you can't see everything in the picture because it looks like in the back there's some, would you agree, Cindy? There's Sydney, there's something in the back where you can't see it very well.
Yeah, I agree.
You can see that tall thing, but you really, over on the right side of where I am, you can't really see it that well.
Yeah, so that photo I would probably just throw out, but you're right, it's really hazy. And the reason of that is like, because where, you know, if I was tilting the camera, like where the lens was hitting the light, like if you're gonna shoot right into the sunlight, you're gonna get that like hazy effect, and you're right, you can't really see anything. And this is a photo that you can't really fix too much because it's just kind of poorly taken. Okay, so now that we, yeah, you guys are good at this. Now that we identified some things, we're gonna start and go through and talk about yeah, some principles. So I would say, yeah, this is me. I would say the first thing that's very important for like any photo that you're taking is having the best light possible. And one really easy way you can do that is positioning your subjects towards a bright natural light source, which would be a window. So in the first photo on the left, so it's the same exact, literally the same exact place. I just rotated my body. So the first photo was taken towards, so I'm facing towards the window and towards natural light. And then if I flip around, now I'm taking the photo or the selfie and the light's behind me. And there's a clear noticeable difference, especially on a smartphone. Are you guys aware of that? Or, you know, like if you turn and you face a window, you're gonna get the best lighting.
No, I didn't know that, but I know it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in
okay.
a room like and you want great lighting on people's faces,
Mhm.
the best thing you can do, if possible, is find a window and place your subjects towards the window so the light is coming on their face. It's gonna best illuminate them and not cast like weird shadows. Obviously, I mean, I think it depends on the background and what you have available in the room. But regardless, if you're just trying to capture a photo of people, that's one really easy way that you can improve your photo is find light and good light. Or like Sydney said, just make sure you have enough lighting in general in the room. So if you don't have enough like overhead lights on and there's not enough window lights in the, or there's not great window light in the room, just turn all the lights on and find the brightest part of the room, because it's easier to fix things, I would say, like beforehand when you're taking the photo than trying to fix it afterwards. Cool. So that's one thing. Next, obviously this is kind of just a random photo, but the more simple that you guys pick for a background, the better. So yeah, say you were at the SD conference or something and you want to take a group photo of you and all your friends, right? Um, picking like a plain wall or something like not cluttered, you know, to put all those people together would look probably the best. Or not something super, yeah. Or if you're outside, you know, instead of having a million things in the background, trying to pick either a plain wall or, you know, you can put people in grass with trees in the background, like something that's just more compositionally interesting instead of having a bunch of random things in the background. This might be seem pretty simple, but you know, I thought I'd include it in here anyway. Okay, next. So I would avoid using, instead of using the zoom function, are you aware of the zoom function on your phone? Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have tried it out, but if you do, you might notice the closer you get, if you're gonna zoom in, the more grainy your photo is gonna look. And it's not gonna be the best. Like really, I feel like iPhones don't have that great of a, so iPhones and other smartphones, I feel like just don't have that great of a zoom function in general.
Yeah.
Like you're like might be on a trip and you're like, oh, I'm gonna take a landscape photo and there's something far away and you zoom in. Yeah, it's just not gonna look that good. So the best thing you can do for that, like say you want to take a close-up shot, is like move your phone, if possible, closer to the subject, and that will drastically improve that photo. I would recommend against using Zoom if possible, but that's my personal preference. Let's see next. Okay, so this is something more technical that you guys might not realize you can do. Are you guys aware of, first of all, like exposure? Have you guys heard that term before? And like know what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
So that has to do a lot of like what the brightness is of the photo. Um, so with iPhones, especially, I mean, we can test and try to see if it's different too on smartphones, but I think it should, or not, what am I gonna say, not smartphones, like Samsung and
Yeah.
other models. But I think it should work similarly. Because I was looking this up to make sure you could do this. But if everyone has their phone, we can try this right now too. So like if you go to your camera application and you press down, so you press like once on your, so I have my phone here right now. I open the camera application, you press down once on something to focus, you can then press again and hold. And you should be able to get a slider where you can manually adjust the brightness. Have you guys tried this before? It's actually pretty interesting. So you can select, you know, like, so you're pressing down and holding on the area. And if there's one part in the frame that you want to brighten, so in this photo, you know, it's showing that it's brightening the flower because maybe it was exposing for the background and not the subject. You can press and hold and slide the slider bar up or down to increase your or decrease your exposure. And to do that, you're going to press and hold and either slide your finger up or slide your finger down. So I'm doing that right now. I mean, it's going to be hard to tell on my phone, but you guys trying that out now? You guys, have you tried this before, any of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't, but I am now.
Yeah. Well, we'll let everyone try for a little bit and then we'll move on. Just in case anyone has any questions. Yeah, this is something very simple, but I feel like a lot of people may not know about it. You know, they just open their phone and they take the photo and that's it, you know.
Mhm.
So there's like very little simple things you can do to make this better. Okay, we'll move on, but if you guys have any other questions about this, let me know. Okay, another simple one, but maybe not to be overlooked, is keeping your phone steady, especially if you're taking photos at night. If you do take photos at night, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it takes a longer time to actually take the photo. So not photo, they're taking photo of the sunset. And if you don't hold it really still, it's gonna try to like long expose for the photo to let as much light in as possible because it's dark in the room or whatever. And if you don't hold your phone really still, you're gonna have like a blurry, shaky photo. Have you guys ever tried that out and then noticed you're like, why is my photo blurry? And then some tips to improve that if you want take a nighttime photo, there's such things you can get as like phone tripods for your phone, or even like little mini things that can clasp around your phone and stabilize your phone if you want to take those types of photos or improve them. for kind of like a long exposure on your phone at night for a nighttime photo, or you can just prop it up on a surface, and that will help as well. So pretty simple, but something that you guys didn't realize. You're like, why are my dark photos blurry? That's why, because it allows, it uses a shutter speed and has a slower shutter speed to allow more light in while you're taking the photo. Okay, so next, burst mode. You guys might have all played around with this before, I don't know. But you can do this on both Samsung phones and iPhones. So all you have to do, if you've not tried this, it works especially well for action shots, but if you press and hold the shutter button, it should take multiple photos on your phone. Did anyone not know that you could do this?
I think I figured that out once, but I haven't done it on my new phone.
Yeah, it's pretty useful. So if you guys want to try that, even for a sample, I mean, it's hard because maybe you're not doing anything actionable, but if you press and hold, actually with the new iPhone, I think you might have to swipe up to do burst mode. What's confusing about this is they keep changing all the models, and then by like, it's hard for me to make like a one and everything phone presentation because like everyone might have a different phone, but to some extent, it's similar principles, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Was it under hmm,
Auto, no, that's not right. So I have the iPhone 11, and this is actually, I used to be able to do this on my old phone with this, but it doesn't look like you can press and hold the burst anymore. I think you need to like swipe up or something weird.
I mean, there's a timer setting, if that's it,
Yeah,
on the
that's not,
Samsung. I didn't know that.
yeah, you should be able to do burst on a Samsung too.
Oh, because it says swipe shutter button to take burst shot under camera settings. So that's interesting. I never played around with this.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the exact thing, I think per model it's different, which is hard and confusing because I can't cover all that, but if you want to know, you can look up just like your phone model into Google, like type it in, like whatever phone you have, and then burst mode, and it should tell you how to do it per specific thing, but that's very useful. And then iPhones, at least, for if you use burst mode, you can take a burst, and then you can either choose like one photo that you want to save as like the cover photo or the main photo from that selection. And you can either, like choose to keep all the rest of the photos, or you can delete them out of there. So yeah, you can use that to, kind of do like a collection, like kind of like this guy, like if you're want like all the frames, or you can pick your select frame by usually I think it's like swiping up, and then you can go and click through all the frames and pick the one that you like the best. And it should be similar on a Samsung as
Yeah,
well.
that's interesting. I'll have to play around with it.
Okay, next principle we're going to talk about is the rule of thirds. Have you guys heard of this before? Anyone?
I haven't.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have.
So this is like a compositional technique or guideline where it places your subject. So if you look at the screen right now, there's a grid and it's broken up into like 3/3, I would say, like on the top on the yeah, and that's where, so by utilizing the rule of thirds, you're gonna place your subject in the left or the right of the image and leaving the other thirds open. And this is great. I would say not for a group shot. Like if you're just taking a group shot, you want to, center people in the frame. But if you have like one subject or like one person and you want to highlight maybe just you're taking a photo of maybe your friend and there's landscape in the background or something really pretty or interesting in the background, it focuses in on the subject while also, creates a nice, compelling shot that showcases the background really effectively, which is what, so the horse is here in the third of the grid line, and then you can also see the big, mountain landscape in the background, which I think is really pretty. So one way that he would not be in the rule of thirds is if I took that horse and I moved him straight into the middle. Does that make sense? So I
Yeah.
either want him on this corner here or this corner. I feel like I'm circling and then I'm like, wait, you guys can't actually even see this. Or maybe you can. Can you see my mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Never mind. Yeah, so you'd want him on this corner here or this corner here. You could also put him up here. Or
Yeah.
subject up here, like if it's like a bird or like something also in that
Mhm.
frame, but that can be harder to capture. I think generally with the rule of thirds, I usually, put people here and then you have like a nice
Mhm.
backdrop in there. So for this, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but you can actually turn on grid lines.
I just did that on mine. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
on your phone. So when we're talking about the rule of thirds, so how to do this, and I have instructions on this side too, but you're gonna go into your settings
Mhm.
on your, so if you have an iPhone, you'd go into where it says settings on like the home page, you'd scroll down to where it says camera. And then under composition, you toggle on grid. So it's like a little, let's see if you guys can see this. So I just turned it on. You guys, can you see this? Yeah. So under
Yep.
composition, there's a little button that says grid. I'm under camera, under settings. So that's all you have to do to turn it on. And then if you go back to your camera application, now if you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but there's grid lines on my, can you guys see this? Maybe not. It's really faint, but
Yeah.
there'll be grid lines on your phone. So if say you want to utilize that rule of thirds, if I was turning it landscape like the horse photo, then it gives you a really easy understanding of, okay, where would I place my subject? Now you can see where that person would be on the screen, and properties
Mhm.
of the rule of thirds. And then I did mention on here too, because I looked it up, for Samsung. If you go to it's a little different. There should be a gear icon at the top of your screen, just right inside the camera function, and then something to toggle it on and off.
Yeah. It looks pretty easy to do.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's just like one principle that you can think of or try to utilize when you're taking photos. I think it works best for, like I said, either like a landscape. So you have like one mountain range, and then more in the background, and you want to focus in on one instead of putting it right in the center, offset it a little bit, and that will look better. Or like I said, a subject like one person or the horse or something. This would not necessarily work best for a group photo. So it's kind of a cool principle. Okay, next, so portrait mode. You guys all used portrait mode before on your phones?
No,
Yeah,
I haven't.
it's
You
really
haven't?
nice, I feel like, because it like totally blurs the background.
Yeah.
I need to, I'll
So
learn how to do that, I think.
yeah, so Cindy, what kind of you have a Samsung, you said,
I
right?
have it's from US Cellular. It is a smartphone. It doesn't say what, oh, because I got the cup. Oh, I have a Motorola.
Okay.
You hear that?
Yeah, Motorola. I mean, I don't know
No.
unless I know like what model it is. That's just the brand, but
Oh, but it's probably a Samsung. I would think it is.
let's
But
see.
I'm about to change it to the iPhone.
Okay. Well,
I was, it's just gonna work better, especially when you have to download everything. Now you want to go to like the Bucks or whatever, you have to download it to your phone. Well, the iPhone, or not the iPhone, but the smartphone doesn't like to do that. So it will be much easier. Maybe you know what I mean. So
yeah. Well, then I guess at least you'll know these tips for when you get your smartphone,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
your iPhone.
I know my friend has an iPhone, and she can really get out some pictures with it. I do really want to keep the smartphone, but the problem is with the smartphone is it's just not, I don't know, how would I say the word? It's not very ADA, I guess, for people who like me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not getting rid of it probably till next year or so. Because I can get a free phone every year and change it.
Yeah, I
Once a
really like the
year,
one I
so.
got.
Yeah, I like Sydney's phone. I seen Sydney's. I like hers.
Yeah, it's an S22. But yeah, I didn't really have a choice though, because my phone like completely died. So, but the camera on the S22 is really, really good.
nice.
Well,
Yeah.
I might try a S20. You know what? Maybe I will. Maybe if Sydney has you have a smartphone, right, Sydney?
Yeah,
But it's a S what?
S22.
Yeah, maybe I'll just change. See, maybe that's what I'll do, because I really love. I love smartphones.
I mean, an iPhone is a smartphone too. I think they're all smartphones. It just depends what your preference is.
Yeah, what your preference is, I guess. You're right about that.
So, okay, I'm going back to her slide.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, thank you.
So portrait mode, you can utilize portrait mode. So they should have portrait mode on, well, they do have portrait mode on iPhones, at least all the current models. And they should have it on Samsungs as well, depending on your model. So you can, to go to portrait mode, all you have to do is, this is so hard. I was like, where's the camera? Wait, so.
Oh, I like your phone.
No, where it failed me.
Mhm.
Okay, you can see on here, so all you have to do is scroll over to where it
Okay.
says portrait mode.
Yeah.
So you click and drag to the different functions. This is an iPhone, but
Oh,
and then like some of the new features too, you can choose the type of light you want in portrait mode, which is kind of weird. They have like, you can see it says like contour light right now, and if you click and drag these things too, you can rotate the wheel and choose different modes, which is kind of fun. I think natural light is usually the one that looks best, but they have like different things you can play around with that zero in on the subject. And what portrait mode will do is blur the background. So it will blur, focus in, like really narrow in on the subject, and then the background will be nice and blurred. And you do have to step farther away So it says on here, like if you hold it up, even it says place subject within 8 feet. So you need to make sure you're far enough away to use portrait mode, but let's see, I'm gonna take a photo of something random, maybe this TV.
Yeah, I think mine says 3 to 5 feet, but it's probably different on Samsung.
Yeah, so, well, this is probably not the best example because so, oh wait, let's take a photo of this pillow. Okay. This is maybe not the best example, but I just took a photo of this pillow and you can see sort of like how blurry the background is. It works better on people or if you're standing further away. And something that's interesting with that too is you can edit. So once you take the photo, if you want to change the depth of field, you can click on edit, which is, this is so hard to position, like right below, kind of near the delete. And up top gives you the options for the f-stop, which is like kind of how wide open or how narrow the lens is for what you take. And if you click on this, like f2.8, you can actually click and slide and change. Let's see if I can show you guys this. This is so hard to do backwards. Okay. I don't know if you can, let's see if you can tell. But do you see how my background is getting blurrier and then less blurrier?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but you can actually do that with portrait mode after you take the photo,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun.
Like there's
So-
so many options, I think.
Yeah, so that's something you can play around with. And you can't do that per se when you take a normal photo, but when you do portrait mode, you can blur it more, unblur the background, which is
Yeah.
fun.
I think you can even make the background black and white or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of different options.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sorry,
pretty sim-
I like for photography, so that's why I'm putting in.
no, any input is good.
You
I
like what again, Sydney?
Photography.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to, I've been taking lots of pictures in my backyard. There's been a lot of pretty birds out there and squirrels. For some reason, a lot of people hate squirrels, but I like squirrels when you're trying to take a, I mean, I think it's kind of good. I'm just starting with that, but hopefully someday I'll be able to take good pictures. I just started this. I didn't even know this was happening today, but I started this summer, Sarah, like, you know,
nice. Yeah,
but
I
they
mean,
didn't turn out very well, trust me. I gotta do a better job.
yeah, I think learning some, basic
Mhm.
principles can go a long way. Like, and a lot of taking photos is learning lighting and understanding lighting.
Yeah.
That's why we touched on that first, because that's like one very easy thing you can think about when you're taking photos. I mean, there's so much, like I could make this whole PowerPoint just on lighting, but I'm trying to touch on a lot of different subject
Yeah.
tips. So, yeah, we'll keep moving. Okay, and then how many more slides? Oh, maybe that was it. Okay, so we just have this one more. So we can talk about this a lot longer.
Mhm.
Last thing you can do is learn simple editing techniques. And you can edit photos directly on your iPhone or smartphone.
Oh,
And I want to cover a few of them that can be really helpful. To take a photo, like so say you take the photo and you're like, oh, I like this, but it's too dark, or it looks too blue, or the colors don't look right. Like there's a lot you can do with it. That's like slight adjustments to make it better. So some of those photos that we looked at earlier in the beginning of the thing, like I said, if it's really hazy, or if it's just like a poorly grainy zoomed in compositional photo, you can't really fix that. But if it's a nice photo, like this, and you just want to make it brighter, or you want to edit some things that's very easily possible natively in your camera app. And this is without adding like a filter or something, you know, that you can find on Instagram or a sharing app. So I recommend, instead of using filters, you should learn how to edit your photos just in the camera app. We can go through some of that. So if you guys all have let's
Do
see.
you recommend a different app to use rather than just the camera itself? You know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like for phone photos, it's fine just to edit in the like native editing app. Like, so why don't everyone go into their camera roll and just select a photo that we can play around with? See if I have a particularly bad photo that could.
That's not bad. I love to choose a bad one.
I think I have some bad ones, trust me.
I would choose like something that you feel like could really use some improvement. I'm trying to find a bad photo in here.
Oh, yeah, I see a couple I can.
Or something that you can at least make noticeable changes to.
Whoops, sorry.
Better example. Let's see, or I'll just choose one that's, I mean, this is fine. Oh, this is sort of similar, and this one's not edited. Okay, so I chose this photo of the mountain. It's kind of similar to the photo the other day because I literally just took this last week. But so on the top, once you guys do it, did you find a photo you can work with? So at the top, we're gonna click edit just in your native, and this is for iPhone. So, but it should be similar on Samsung, like you should be able to edit in the camera application as well too. So for iPhone, like if you hit the edit button and then you go in, like you can just hit the auto function, like auto here, and it will auto edit the photo for you. So if I take it off, it's like so hard to do this. No, it's like backwards. So without, so you see it just like brightens it a little bit. But I don't typically edit anything with the auto function because I like having more control over that. Sometimes auto is a good starting point if you don't know what you're doing. But I don't recommend it. So the first thing, exposure, and that should be the little plus button next to auto. So if you click on that, the exposure is how bright your image is or not. So we can make it really, really bright. It's like too bright. Can make it darker. So that's a lot you can do with just the exposure. And everyone find in your phone where to do this.
I found it.
Okay. So now if we scroll over, brilliance. So brilliance is like similar to the exposure. That's like the next thing on here. But instead of increasing the whole exposure of the image, it just has to do with the brightness on the screen. So say you just want to make it brighter, but you don't want to blow out everything that's in the sky. Because if you see this photo, it's, you know, a lot of clouds and some pretty sunset landscape. I'm increasing the brightness of the overall photo, but I'm not like blowing out all the colors that are in the sky. So that's something if you mess around with that. Highlights. So highlights have to do with all the bright areas of an image. So if you can,
You
Adjust
probably
this.
don't want to decrease it.
Yeah, you can increase the highlights or decrease it. If you have like a sunset image or something like this, chances are you're gonna want to try to decrease the highlights, like not a ton, so it looks fake, but just a little bit because it will add more color back into the image. So the highlights would typically be like the sky or all the bright areas of the image. And if you pull the highlight slider down, you can make that more vibrant. Okay, so shadows. So in this image, it would be the very dark parts, which would be like the mountain ranges of this image. So you scroll over. You can, if I go all the way up to 100, now you can like clearly see
Mhm.
trees and they're not as black. So shadows is for like all the blacks in the images if you want to make that more visible. And some of the stuff too, like if you just play around with it, you will start to understand, you know, like what it's doing like to the image if you're just looking at the screen, if that makes sense. Contrast, I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. That's how contrasty the image is. Saturation, that's how saturated your colors are. For iPhone, I typically don't mess with this too much because I think it does a pretty good job already and it can make it look really fake. Like if I went all the way up here, look how grossly saturated the image looks. Vibrance, this is something I think it can be nice to increase maybe up like 10 points to make it just a little bit more vibrant, depending on the image. And then warmth. So this is something that can be really helpful and I utilize a lot if I'm taking photos on my phone, because I feel often the color temperature or warmth of the photo is very off in iPhone photos. Like it does a pretty good job, or like I guess other smartphones too. I keep saying iPhones because I have an iPhone, but I feel like often it can do a really good job with you know, just like other things and the colors, and it looks okay-ish, but the warmth is really off in the scene. So like this photo, I would probably warm up just a tad. To maybe, let's see. I think it looks better at like 43. So,
That's cool. 'Cause I think on here it calls it temperature.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So temperature, warmth, whatever your phone deciphers, that's something I play around with a lot. Because often I feel like it can look too blue. Even this photo on the screen, so this is just an example, but I would probably warm this photo more because it looks pretty blue. So in terms of colors, you know, like if you're looking at a photo, it goes from you know, color, I guess in a sense it's like or how do I put this? Like there's a series of like color temperatures, you know, typically described in Kelvin, which is a form of measurement, you know, of like how warm or how cool the unit is. And that's not, yeah, that's for like photos. But the warmer your image is the more orange it gets, and the cooler it is, the more blue it will be. And you're trying to find like a balancing point between those two that looks the best for the image in the scenario. And I find typically with iPhone photos, you're gonna need to warm a lot of the photos, and just that simple adjustment can make it look so much better. So like if it's too dark, like maybe just a little bit of a brightness adjustment or exposure adjustment, or up the shadows, make it, you know, more even and balanced, and then increase the warmth, and that can go a long way. And then if it looks too flat, I would maybe increase the contrast of the image to give it like a little pop back. Because once you pull the shadows up, it can kind of get flat depending on the image. So yeah, there's also things on here, at least it's like tint, sharpness, definition, noise reduction. but I don't typically play around with those. So yeah, those are just simple things in the editing function.
Yeah, that's good to know. I was on my old phone. I had a lot of editing apps, and that's cool that you can do all that with just the camera setting.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think it does. Yeah, I agree. So I don't think you necessarily need all those editing apps because the camera, like if you go in the edit function, it can do just as good or better. But that's not, like I said, you can do the auto edit, but I think it works better if you start to understand how to manually edit your photos, because the small adjustments can make such a difference. Yeah. So I know we're almost out of time, so I think now that I've talked a really long time, we can open it up for questions, or if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, or any tips or things you're wondering about, let me know.
Thanks for your presentation. I have to jump on another call, but thank you.
Yeah,
Have a nice one.
you too, Cindy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good to learn about all the different editing and lighting stuff.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for coming. I gotta forget to